Amigos, ¿cómo están? Este es Carlos Oñoro y esta es la tercera parte de la entrevista con Oscar Dronjak de Hammerfall, compositor, guitarrista, fundador de la banda, junto también con Joaquín Cans, que es su cantante, que es ellos dos son como los líderes de la banda. Y bueno, sin más excusas y preámbulos, aquí está en entrevista exclusiva Oscar Dronjak de Hammerfall.
Tell us about Dominion. You have just released an album, the new Hammerfall album. This is the second with the Napalm.
Yes.
What's the story behind it and the meaning of the project, of the concept? If there's one.
No, there's no concept. Like we haven't done a concept album yet, and I doubt that we ever will. It's we leave that for the masters like Alice Cooper and King Diamond to do that. But you know, we started writing songs quite early for Dominion. I mean, normally when an album is recorded and finished and everything is done, I'm so sick of the shit, I don't want to hear anything about it. Because it's been such an intense period of work that I need a couple of months to just, you know, back off a little bit. But with Dominion, or rather with Built to Last, you know, nowadays you can't really do that. You can't take a couple of months off before the recording to write songs. There's no way, you know, we just can't. You can't do what we did in the 10, 15 years ago, which was, you know, have 6 to 8 months, no shows anywhere, just dedicated to writing songs, basically. And we can't do that anymore. We need to be out on the road much more than we used to. And also, of course, all the streaming services and stuff means that you sell less albums, even though the streaming means that more people listen to it. You don't get as an artist, you don't get as much money as you used to. So we need to be out playing shows, and also the world is getting smaller, you know, or bigger depending on the way you look at it. But there are more places that we need to go, more territories that we need to go. Because on Built to Last, we went to North America twice. We went to North America 4 times in 20 years or something before that. So for us, it's a big thing to go there 2 years in a row. So there are territories that we need to go to. We can't really do that 6 to 8 months break before, you know, to songwriting break anymore. And I wasn't ready for that when Built to Last was done. So the last couple of months before the recordings of Built to Last was really stressful. I hated it. I didn't enjoy any of it. And normally I really enjoy writing songs because I love what I do. I really love the music that I write. But for Built to Last, I didn't have a chance to savor it. I didn't have a chance to listen to it, to understand the music. It was because it was so stressful. I needed to finish the songs before the recording. I just finished the song and then shipped it off to Joachim and then worked on the next one. And I desperately wanted to avoid that for the next album. So I started writing songs a lot earlier. And I also started writing songs on tour, which has, if you asked me this, you know, 2-3 years ago, I would have said never in my wildest dreams will I ever ever do that. I can't do that. It's impossible for me. But what I didn't really count on was that being on stage is a really big adrenaline rush, and you can actually channel that adrenaline rush into writing songs. So this is what I did. I brought my sort of songwriting kit, which basically is a small guitar, a laptop with Pro Tools on it and an interface, and that I can bring anywhere with me. I got a guitar called a Traveler's guitar, which is small enough to fit in a suitcase, so I can bring that anywhere. I brought that on vacations with my family too, and I think I wrote about half of at least 50 to 60% of my things for the album I wrote outside of my home, which is, you know, I thought I could write only inside of my home. Everything should have been written there. But this was a great way of expanding your horizons and challenging yourself a little bit. And I felt really good about that. It turned out fantastic. I was very productive. So it was a beautiful experience this time.
Nice. If you want to have an introduction to us, pick 3 songs. If we would like to discover Dominion album, give us 3 tracks you would let us hear first.
It's a really cool question. I just the thing with this album in particular is that all of the songs are very different. You can't say that this is a song that sounds like any other song. I mean, sure, there are fast songs, but they all differ in context, really. But I think three songs that describe the album well are Never Forgive, Never Forget, We Make Sweden Rock, and just to get the balance, the ballad, Second to One.
We have seen so many videos of Hammerfall killing it in the circuit of Summer Festival that it's easy to think the new album and the tour will be a landmark. How do you feel so far about this new season for Hammerfall?
Well, I think Hammerfall has never been better live than we are right now. This is the best version of Hammerfall that you've ever seen, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But we have done more shows in the last couple of years than we've done ever before, and that's, of course, you play a lot, you get synced together a lot as well. But it's also a matter of the level of intensity that we bring. We had a little bit of a break before Revolution. We took an 18-month break just to recharge the batteries a little bit, and that's needed. You know, the band that you see now, while we mostly consist of the same people, on stage it's a totally different experience now than 10 years ago. So we bring the energy a lot, and that's because it's so much fun. You know, it was getting, not, I wouldn't say boring, but it was getting less fun for a while, and that's why we took the break before Revolution. And since then, you know, all the things that we've done have been really fun, and it's really fun to play in a band again. And I don't think if we didn't take that break, we probably wouldn't have been here anymore. You know, because then just going into back into the studio recording a new album, it would have been probably the death of Hammerfall. And instead we took a break and then came back really energized again. And I think that's what's a heavy metal show. That's an important aspect of a heavy metal show, is the energy, the interaction with the fans, the feeling that everybody is in this together and we're all having the time of our lives. And that's what we're trying to recreate. Like I like to say, a heavy metal party every night. You know, that's what we try to do with the shows. And it seems like in the last couple of years that people who come to the shows, they know this. They know what to expect. They are there because they want to see Hammerfall. They want to get a good time, want to have a good time, and they want to get into the show. And that makes it all the easier for us on stage. It makes it a lot the experience much better for everybody.
Musically, and if you want to share a bit further, but first off, musically, what is the difference from that Oscar Dronjak today, 2019, and that guy sitting in 93 in front of the control desk in the console recording your first album? Night and day in many ways. It was actually recorded in September 1992 already. It just came out in 93. I mean, in the core, I'm probably the same person I've always been. You know, I think I didn't change that much in that respect. But as far as maturity, it's night and day. You know, I was 20 years old at that time, but I felt like 14 until I turned 40. Basically, you know, that's been my just the way I've been. You know, I've been feeling a lot younger and a lot more immature, because those things go together. If you feel young, it's great. But if you also are immature, it's not so great. But you can't really have one without the other, I don't think. So it's been, for me, a long road since then. And I'm sure that there are many things I would recognize and about myself and feel are similar. But as a whole, you know, that this is almost 30 years, not quite 27, 28 years ago. But I think that the young version of me would be really proud of what I've accomplished. Do you read?
A lot, yes.
Okay, I heard that you have a song inspired by Game of Thrones Before the Hype, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, we have. We have song titles that I took from the song of Ice and Fire many years before it became a television series. So yeah, I read the books, all of them that were available before, years before the series. So we had our first. I mean, the first album where anything showed up was Chapter 5, because it's called Unbent, Unbowed, Unbroken, which is something I took from that the series. This is actually the words of one of the houses. I think it's House Tyrell, House Martell, maybe. I can't remember now. It was unbent, unbroken, unbowed, I think, or I just flipped the words around. But yeah, so yes, for sure, we had many song titles. Dark Wings, Dark Words is another one before that, and a lot of inspiration from that, from the books before it became series.
All right, so if you're a good reader, shoot us 3 books. Read this 1, 2, 3.
One book that I didn't. I mean, I've read the author of A Song of Ice and Fire is called George R.R. Martin, and he's written I don't know how many books, many books, and I read almost all of them. But I found one last year which I hadn't read, or 2 years ago maybe. It's called Tough Voyaging, TUF Voyaging. It's a science fiction, it was extremely good. I didn't have any high hopes because I didn't know what it was really when I found it, but it's one of those books I couldn't put it down. It was really, really well written, as almost everything he's done is. So Tough Voyaging, definitely check it out. I'm reading one right now which is called I believe The Wanderer. I think I can't remember the author now. It was one of those things. I have a Kindle because that's so easy. When you're going tour for a while, it's easy to have just a couple of books inside of a little e-reader instead of a big stack of books, basically. But that one, I only read about 10% of it, but it seems like this is going to be a really, really good one. Yeah, so, I read a lot. I mean, it's so much better. The main reason for me was I like to read books. I've always read books a lot, but it felt to me 2 or 3 years ago maybe that whenever I was bored, I started looking at the phone and Facebook or whatever it was, social media bullshit, and just nothing really of value at all. I was just reading bullshit, and I realized, if I'm going to read something, I might as well read something that makes any sense to me. So that's why I started. I bought a Kindle. I read it all the time now, and I was just reading it when you called. Actually, the first time I was reading The Wanderer book. It's a new one. It was for me. It just showed up in the recommended for you books. I check those out sometimes, and I just read about it a little bit. This seems like something I would enjoy. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and this book had a lot of comparisons to him, and normally that's not always a great thing, because you can't do, if you do Stephen King is Stephen King. Only he can do that, obviously, But if you are inspired by him or in the same vein, I'm always interested, I've been interested in that style a lot, and I read some books that were okay, but I read some really good ones too. And one book that I didn't know, I was searching for books in the style of Stephen King, like Googling, and this author called Joe Hill came up. It's like, okay, well, why not? I'll try him. So I bought one of his books. I think it was called Horns, like horns. And I read it just for a couple of pages, basically. I said, wow, this is really Stephen King-ish. I love it. And it was a really great book. It's even, I remember even thinking halfway through, this is like Stephen King, but modern, not the 80s Stephen King, but made in 2019 or 17 or whatever it was, the kind of year I read it. And then afterwards, I looked him up, because I wanted to buy some more books for me. This was a really good book. I discovered he had a couple of more, and I also discovered that he was Stephen King's son. So it figures, but the apple doesn't fall far from the tree in certain cases, I guess, right? But it was a really good book, so that's my third suggestion.
But what about movies? Do you like them, or you're not a movie guy?
No, I watch a lot of movies. I tend to enjoy TV series more, just because if they're done well, they're like a huge long movie. Because there's only so much you can do in 2 hours, with a movie. If you have 10, 13 episodes, you can do a lot more. But I do watch a lot of movies, yes. Because one of my all-time favorite movies that I've ever watched is King Kong, and it's the old one from 1933. I have a thing for big apes, or big monsters or whatever, and especially with King Kong, it's such a sad story. That's actually the last time I really cried was when I saw that movie because it's so damn sad when he dies at the end. So yeah, King Kong for sure.
Let's go to the very last question.
Yes.
Your top 3 metal albums.
Oh, man, that's difficult. One that I have to mention is Screaming for Vengeance, I think. Judas Priest, obviously. One of the first albums I discovered, but still to this day one of the best ones. Oh, yeah. And I think Balls to the Wall has to be. I mean, just for what it made me discover and realize I was into accepting heavy metal. That's a really good. For me, it has a good feeling. It needs to be in there, and it's one of my all-time favorite albums. So yes, for sure. A third one is more difficult. I guess I would go with Louder Than Hell with Manowar. That one had also a huge impact on me when it came out, just because this was in the middle of the 90s, 96, I believe. And like we talked about earlier, the way people viewed heavy metal back then was not favorable in any way, if they even viewed it at all. They all thought it was just bullshit and kind of children's play, whatever, because the grunge or the extreme aggressive metal was all the rage back then. So when Louder Than Hell came out, and the song The Gods Made Heavy Metal, and they saw that it was good, they said to play it louder than hell. We promised that we would. That's just something that was an arrow straight into my heart. That's exactly how I felt at that time. And I felt also like I was more or less alone in this, more or less. And then when that album came out, I realized, okay, there are a few more that are like us. So that's my third one.
Wow. Oscar, we've been talking 1 hour. Thank you so much for your time, man.
No problem at all. Yeah, I'm happy we could do it despite me forgetting about it in the beginning. So that's good.
Bien, amigos, y este fue el recorrido. Gran entrevista, más de 1 hora, hablando con Oscar Dronjak de Hammerfall, recorriendo su historia, incluso parte de la historia del metal como lo conocemos hoy en día. Mi nombre es Carlos Oñoro y esto fue Historias Rockeras en entrevista con Oscar Dronjak de Hammerfall, un gran histórico del metal. Chao.